She is a poor waitress with a painful past. He is a cold billionaire who disappeared from her life without a word. When fate brings them together again, all the memories that were thought to have been forgotten suddenly flare up fiercely. But love is never a fairy tale, especially when his world is so far away from hers. Can a man who has everything give up everything for a girl who has nothing? Can a heart that has been broken have enough courage to love again? Let's see in the end. Who will truly hold the other's heart? Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss any stories. Now let's relax and listen to today's story. A light rain swept through the empty streets of New Orleans, droplets rolling down the windshield, reflecting the dim light from the street lamps. Adrian Lancaster leaned back in the soft leather seat, his sharp eyes staring thoughtfully out the window. It was a long day. Lancaster Global's board meeting was as tense as ever. Shareholders wanted to cut thousands of jobs to maximize profits, while he wanted to maintain stability for the corporation. A never-ending battle where money and power always prevailed. He didn't want to go home right away. His luxurious penthouse in the middle of the city suddenly felt too empty. So he drove aimlessly, letting himself be carried away by the old streets of New Orleans. And then he stopped in front of a small cafe with a faded wooden sign, Café Lumière. Adrian frowned. He didn't think this place still existed. It used to be a small family-run cafe, tucked away in a quiet alley. The last time he'd been here was 17 years ago. Perhaps it was fate that brought him here. He got out of the car, pushed the door open and walked in. A tinkling bell rang, along with the strong aroma of coffee and freshly baked pastries. The space was small but warm, with soft yellow lights shining down on the old wooden tables and chairs, giving off an indescribable nostalgic feeling. Adrian chose a table in the corner, took off his expensive coat, and tapped his fingers lightly on the table. He had a strange feeling in his heart, as if he was going back in time. And then, "Good evening. What would you like to have?" That voice, a voice he never forgot. Adrian looked up. The world seemed to stand still. Standing before him was a woman with slightly curly hair, falling loosely over her thin shoulders. Those deep brown eyes, the eyes that once contained his whole world, now looked at him with terrifying strangeness. Sienna Brooks. Adrian couldn't believe his eyes. It was her, the girl he had loved, the girl he had promised to protect, and then left without a word of goodbye. But Sienna, she didn't seem moved. "What would you like to have?" she repeated, her tone as calm as if he were just a stranger. It took Adrian a few seconds to compose himself. "An espresso." Sienna nodded, wrote it down, then turned and left. Not a moment's hesitation. Not a single sign that she recognized him. Adrian looked at her back, a strange feeling rising in his heart. Did she remember him, or had she really forgotten him? A few minutes later, Sienna returned with a steaming cup of espresso in her hand. She calmly placed the cup on the table, but at that moment, her hand accidentally slipped. Coffee spilled down his white shirt sleeve. Sienna took a breath, hastily pulling a tissue from her apron. "Sorry. Let me wipe." But before she could touch him, Adrian grabbed her wrist. The moment their eyes met, an electric current ran down his spine. It's her. It's Sienna. There's no doubt about it. He felt the warmth of her wrist, a familiar feeling that made his heart clench. But Sienna was different. She stiffened, her eyes darkening, and then immediately withdrew her hand. She smiled faintly, but it wasn't the smile he knew. "Just a little stain. Hope you don't mind." Then she turned and walked away without looking back. Adrian froze. No, this couldn't be the Sienna he knew. What had he expected? That she would throw herself into his arms, sobbing because they were finally seeing each other again after so many years? The reality is much harsher. She was not only not moved, but also appeared completely indifferent. Adrian took a sip of coffee, but its bitterness was nothing compared to the bitterness spreading through his heart right now. "She must hate you." And what confused him the most, why does my heart hurt so much? Old memories seem to linger in the air. New Orleans in spring has a melancholy beauty. Gentle winds blow through the old streets, carrying the scent of jasmine and a touch of steam from the Mississippi River. Café Lumière is as busy as ever, but one thing has become a rule over the past few days. Adrian Lancaster was always there, every morning, every evening. He always chose the same table, in a corner near the window, where he could easily observe the waiters. He never ordered anything other than an espresso, and he always waited to be served by the same person, Sienna Brooks. But if he thought his presence would make her waver, he was wrong. Sienna still served him professionally, coldly, as if he were just a normal customer. "Here's your espresso. Do you need anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." Every day, the same words, nothing more, nothing less. Not a single confused look, not a single sign that she still cared about him. But Adrian did not give up easily. Every time she left, his eyes still followed. He noticed small changes in her, the way she was always busy, not giving herself a minute to rest, as if she stopped, she would have to face memories she didn't want to remember. He also realized she had changed. She was no longer the 17-year-old girl with the bright smile she once had. The current Sienna had a hard shell, a wall that separated her from the outside world, and that made him want to break it even more. That evening, as the last customers left, Sienna began locking up the bar. She slid the sign to the closed side, checked the lights, and stepped outside, taking a deep breath. New Orleans at night had a strange appeal. The street lights were a pale yellow, and jazz music floated from a bar in the distance. She shivered as the cold wind blew past, pulling up the collar of her coat, ready to walk home. But when she turned back, she stopped in surprise. Adrian stood there, leaning against the old brick wall outside the shop. Under the streetlight, his tall figure became even more defined, his deep blue eyes looking at her meaningfully. Sienna sighed. "How long are you going to stand there?" Adrian smirked. "Until you stop pretending you don't miss me." Sienna laughed, a dry laugh. "Really? Is that how you plan to start a conversation?" Adrian stepped closer to her. "Sienna, don't act like you don't know me." She crossed her arms over her chest, her eyes cold. "Know you? The one who disappeared 17 years ago without a word of goodbye? The one I waited for months for, only to realize I was nothing in your life?" Adrian clenched his fists. "Sienna, it's not that I want to leave. My family—" "Your family forced you to leave?" Sienna interrupted, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "You think I haven't heard that story? A rich boy forced by his family to leave a poor girl behind. A familiar scenario, Adrian." He looked at her, his eyes filled with regret. "But it's true." Sienna crossed her arms and shook her head. The truth is that you promised you would never leave me. And you did. You never tried to contact me, never explained. And now you come back expecting me to smile and say, 'It's okay, Adrian?' That's ridiculous." The night wind blew, lightly ruffling her hair. For a moment her eyes softened, but she immediately turned away, hiding all emotions. Adrian took a deep breath. He knew he was wrong. He knew she had every right to hate him. But seeing her standing there, right in front of him, unable to touch her, unable to erase the pain in her eyes, that's what hurts him the most. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away," Adrian said, his voice low. "I just want you to know that I have never forgotten you." Sienna smiled faintly, but there was a slight tremble in her voice. "I learned an important lesson, Adrian. Never trust people who leave when things get tough." With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Adrian standing silently in the dark. He watched her figure disappear into the small alley, his heart heavy. She said she forgot, but he couldn't ignore the fact that every time she looked at him, there was still pain in her eyes. And if she's still in pain, that means she still has feelings for him. In the following days, Adrian continued to return to Café Lumière, not to cling to old memories, but to prove to Sienna that he would not disappear again. He didn't try to force her to listen. He didn't say anything flowery. He just appeared quietly, waiting patiently. But Sienna kept her distance. She could feel his eyes on her every time she passed his desk, feel the concern he had never shown anyone else. But she couldn't accept it. Not now. Not after all these years of neglect. She used to be a girl who believed in love, in sweet promises. But when Adrian left, her world collapsed. She had to learn to stand up for herself. She didn't need someone to show up after 17 years and say he still remembered her. But Adrian did not give up easily. He couldn't watch her struggle to carry everything without doing anything. He silently helped her. He went to the hospital where her mother was being treated and paid all the hospital bills without letting her know. He hired someone to fix up her old apartment, replace rusty water pipes, and reinstall the electrical system that had long been overloaded. He was willing to do anything, but Sienna refused everything. The day she found out the hospital bill had dropped, she ran to the front desk and asked to cancel all transactions. "There is an anonymous person who paid the entire bill," the hospital staff told her. "Do you really want to refuse?" Sienna gritted her teeth. She doesn't need pity. She didn't need anyone to appear as a savior when she was used to fighting alone. And if Adrian thought he could buy back the past with money, he was wrong. She went straight to the cafe and slammed a check on his table. "Never do this again." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "What? You know it? Don't pretend." Her voice was cold. "I don't need your money. I don't need your help." Adrian picked up the check, looked it over, and slowly tore it in half. "I'm not helping you because you need it," he said, his voice low. "I'm helping you because I want to." Sienna clenched her fists. She didn't know how to face him. "Can't forget you, but I can't trust you again." That night, the bar was in the late evening shift, and the customers were dwindling. Sienna was busy cleaning the bar, not paying attention to the man who had been sitting in the corner for a long time. He was drunk. As Sienna turned her back, he approached from behind, the smell of alcohol strong. "You are so beautiful." His dirty hand reached for her waist. Sienna jumped back, startled. "Would you please?" But he did not let her finish her sentence. He grabbed her arm and pulled her towards him. "Don't act so high and mighty, honey. I see you're interested in that rich man. Why are you acting all high and mighty with me?" Everything happened so fast. Before Sienna could react, a figure rushed over like a storm. He grabbed the man by the collar, pulled him away from Sienna, and punched him so hard that he staggered to the floor. "I swear." Adrian's voice was low and dangerous. "If you ever touch her again—" He scrambled to his feet, eyes filled with hatred. But when he looked into Adrian's icy gaze, he knew he had no chance. He cursed and stormed out of the bar. Sienna stood there, her heart pounding. "You didn't have to do that," she said, but her trembling voice betrayed her. Adrian turned back and walked in front of her. "I lost you once," he said hoarsely. "I can't lose you again." For the first time in years, she saw pain in his eyes. Real pain. No longer the weak boy of yesteryear. No longer the guy who left her without a word of goodbye. The man before her now was strong, decisive, and sincere. And that's what scared her the most. Sienna thought her life's trials were harsh enough. But she was wrong. What will be, will be. Julian Lancaster sat on a high-class leather chair, a glass of wine in his hand, his eyes cold. He had been following Adrian all this time, and he realized, for the first time in his life, his brother was willing to risk everything for a woman, a poor waitress. He laughed. Such a woman? Not worthy of entering the Lancaster world. He knows how to extinguish this stupid feeling. The next day, Sienna walked out of the cafe when a shiny black car pulled up right in front of her. The car window rolled down. A man in an expensive suit looked at her with calculating eyes. Julian Lancaster. Shall we talk, Miss Brooks? His voice was soft but dangerous. Sienna was unafraid. She crossed her arms and replied coldly, "If you are Adrian's family, then I have nothing to say." Julian chuckled. "Oh, but I have an offer you can't refuse." He threw a thick envelope out the window. $2 million. Just get out of Adrian's life." Sienna felt anger rising in her throat. She clenched her fists, keeping her voice calm. "Do you think love can be bought?" Julian curled his lip. "No, but your pride does." Sienna bent down, picked up the envelope, held it up in front of him, then tore it into pieces and threw it into the wind. Julian's eyes darkened. "Very well. You will regret it." The car sped away, leaving Sienna with a foreboding feeling. The next day, when Sienna entered the cafe, she immediately felt the heavy atmosphere, the stares, the whispers, the looks of contempt. She walked towards the counter, but her coworker, Lisa, stopped her. "Sienna?" Lisa bit her lip. "Have you seen the news?" She frowned. "What?" Lisa held the phone out in front of her. "Lancaster Group's heirs are fostering a poor girl at a cheap cafe." Below are a series of photos of her and Adrian. The moments he sat in the shop, the times he looked at her with gentle eyes, all were distorted into a dirty story. Sienna felt her face burn. Lisa squeezed her hand. "Everyone's been talking about you. Are you okay?" She took a deep breath. "I'm fine." But she was wrong, because at that moment a group of reporters rushed into the restaurant. "Can you confirm that you are seeing Adrian Lancaster? Are you really being kept by him? What can you say about the rumors that you're taking advantage of him?" All eyes in the cafe were on her. The whispers grew louder. She looked around trying to find some safety, but there was none. No one protected her. No one stood by her. She was alone, and that made her feel smaller than ever. News of the scandal spread like wildfire. Within hours, the entire social media was flooded with vicious comments. Who is she to dream of Adrian Lancaster? Obviously gold digging. A poor waitress seduces a billionaire? Funny. When Adrian saw all this, his blood boiled. He couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't let Sienna bear it all. "Just because I love you." And so, he appeared before the media. At a Lancaster Corporation event where hundreds of reporters were waiting, Adrian stepped onto the stage. Everyone thought he would keep quiet. People thought he would deny everything to protect his reputation. But instead, he took the microphone and looked straight at the millions of people watching live. And he said, "I don't support her." A deadly silence fell over the room. All cameras were on him. The whole world held its breath. And then, he continued, "I love her." The whole room exploded. Reporters screamed. Cameras flashed. But Adrian didn't care. He just looked into the lens, as if speaking directly to Sienna. "Sienna Brooks is not a gold digger. She doesn't need my money. She doesn't need my fame. The only thing she needs is respect." He put the microphone down, stepped off the stage, and at that moment, the whole world was shocked. She sat in front of the screen, watching the whole event. She thought he would deny it. She thought he would choose to protect himself over her. But he did something she could not imagine. He put his honor on the line. For her. Her tears fell. She didn't know if this was a mistake, but she knew one thing. Adrian Lancaster was truly in love with her. And this time, he didn't run away. Sienna was sitting behind the cafe counter, her mind still reeling from Adrian's shocking confession, when a dark shadow fell before her. She looked up. Julian Lancaster. She clutched her coffee cup in her hand. "What else do you want?" Julian sat down, a cold smile on his face. "My brother is weak," he said, his voice eerily calm. "He thinks love is enough. But you and I both know love is nothing without power." Sienna chuckled. You came here to teach me that lesson? Julian leaned over, his eyes sharpening. No, I came to warn you. If you don't leave Adrian, I will destroy him. Sienna paused. Julian saw that and immediately curled his lips. I've spared you once, but if you still stubbornly cling to Adrian, I won't just destroy his reputation. I'll make him lose everything. His corporation, his money, his power, and then you'll be the reason the whole world laughs at him. Sienna clenched her fists. Can you accept that? Julian tilted his head. Watching the man you love lose everything just because of a poor waitress? Those words struck a chord in her mind. She knew Adrian didn't care about money, but if he lost everything because of her, how could she live without feeling guilty? That evening, Sienna entered Adrian's apartment for the last time. He is not at home. She sat down at the table, picked up a blank sheet of paper, her fingers trembling. She took a deep breath, then wrote, Adrian, you have the whole world, and I only have myself. Don't look for me. Don't sacrifice everything for me. You belong somewhere I can't enter. Goodbye. Her tears fell on the paper. She placed the letter on the table, then walked out of the apartment, carrying her broken heart with her. When Adrian returned and saw the letter, he felt like his whole world had collapsed. Are not. No way. He rushed out of the house, the letter crumpled in his hand. He knew where she was going. He knew the only place she could hide. New Orleans Harbor, where they used to play as children, the place where he promised to always protect her. And this time, he will keep that promise. Sienna stood on the dock, the night wind blowing her hair. She closed her eyes, trying to contain the pain in her heart. But then, footsteps pounded behind. She turned back. Adrian was running over, panting, his eyes filled with despair. You think I'm going to let you leave? He almost roared. Sienna shook her head, tears rolling down her cheeks. You don't understand. I understand. Adrian rushed forward, grabbing her hand tightly. I lost you once. I can't lose you again. Sienna's heart stopped. She looked into his eyes, the eyes of the man who had abandoned her. But this time, his eyes were filled with love, no longer hesitant. But Julian, she choked. Adrian chuckled. You think I care about him? I won't let him control my life anymore. But you will lose everything. Adrian lifted her chin, forcing her to look straight at him. Without you, everything is nothing. Sienna burst into tears. She had run away long enough. She tried to protect him, but she forgot one thing. Adrian does not need protection. I just need you. And finally, she nodded. Adrian looked at her, his eyes lighting up as if the world had just turned right again. He took a step back, then slowly knelt down. Sienna's eyes widened, her heart almost jumping out of her chest. Under the shimmering light reflecting on the water, he pulled out a ring. Sienna Brooks, will you be my wife? She put her hand to her mouth, tears rolling down her face. He still had that gentle gaze, the gaze of the boy who had promised to protect her for life. And now, the man in front of her was ready to keep that promise. Sienna laughed through her tears. She nodded. And as Adrian slipped the ring onto her finger, he pulled her into a passionate kiss. The kiss of two people once separated by fate. The kiss of past and present blend into one. Kiss of love. Finally found my way home. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you like this story, don't forget to like to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss any stories.